I don't think it's worth getting angry about Hillary. I just think she looks sad and pathetic. There is nothing worse in life than a bad loser. Nothing worse than somebody who blames absolutely everybody else for their own failings. And let's face it, you know, she represented an out-of-touch, out-of-date establishment. She almost appeared as if it was her right to become the president, and I'm very pleased she didn't. Let's just, I tell you what, from now on, let's just ignore her.
Let's move on to Hillary Clinton. The whole email gate scandal. I haven't heard where you stand on this, but does she think she's above the law? Does she want to just have a general feeling that the laws don't apply to her the way they apply to us?
Well, I was listening to your previous guests and other guests on this topic on other stations, and let's say everything they say is true, which I do not think it is. This is for purposes of argument. Nothing that Hillary did was illegal. It didn't violate protocol. There's nothing about Benghazi. All the emails she deleted just had to do with Chelsea's wedding. Let's say all of that is true. Hillary herself and her defenders say, well, it was a mistake, and if I had to do it over again, I would have two phones. She did do it again. She has been through this before. She was the first lady of Arkansas. She was involved in 2 presidential campaigns. She was the first lady of the nation. She was Secretary of State, and there was scandal after scandal. She did do this before. Can't she learn? A child learns when you put your hand on the stove. If it burns, don't put your hand on the stove again. This is like an IQ test we've set up for this woman. A rat learns, don't do this. I'll get a shock if I do that.
But here's the problem,
Why didn't it occur
there's
to her?
no shock.
Maybe I shouldn't do it.
There's no shock. Right. She keeps having a scandal after scandal, and no one holds her. No one holds her accountable.
I don't think most people's recollection of the Clinton years were about that. You had the Rose Law Firm records. You had her taking the files out of Vince Foster's office. You had her hiding the health care records.
And here she is. And here she is, the most popular Democrat in America. How is that possible? Is that all we can come up with? We can come up with someone who's scandal after scandal and another Clinton?
This woman has a very low IQ. We now have the test. The evidence is in.
All right. How do Democrats want someone else? It feels like that now they've been painted into the corner. They have to back Hillary Clinton. Do they wish they had another choice?
I think you're right about that. I mean, the media keeps, the left-wing media, i.e. everything except, well, right here, right now, they keep acting as if we somehow, you know, we as America owe Hillary Clinton because we ran off with our trophy wife Obama back in 2008. We owe her this nomination. Well, you know, America doesn't owe her. Maybe you owe her, liberal America. But I don't think most Americans feel like she's owed anything. So, yeah, and also I think probably a lot of them are starting to wonder, why would she do something this stupid? Forgetting about the corruption, forgetting about the illegality.
So, and the left seems to be enamored with the first African-American president. Now they want the first female president. Is that a mistake?
It's kind of sad, the holidays they hold so dear. Whereas I noticed they did not celebrate the first black Secretary of State under President Bush, Colin Powell, or the first black female Secretary of State, Condoleezza Rice. No, those kind of slipped beneath the radar. But you know, these useless women like Madeleine Albright, oh, we have to have a big holiday over that one. I think it's embarrassing and people get sick of this stuff. And the main thing I would say is Republicans, please don't follow in the Democrats' wake. When a Margaret Thatcher comes along, you'll know it. You don't go looking over politics to find, do we have a woman we can run? You know it when she comes along.
There you go. We're going to leave it right there.
As yet undecided. So if we can get a microphone to the young lady with the black top. You're undecided and you have a question. Where are we going, Camilla?
So I'm a journalist on the Sunday Express, and a lot of our readers are concerned about security. And I think, not to scaremonger more, because we've probably had enough of that on both sides, we are facing the prospect, somewhat terrifyingly, of Donald Trump perhaps becoming the next American president, a man who doesn't seem to believe in NATO, who doesn't seem to believe in protecting people abroad. If America abandons us and we leave the EU, aren't we going to be left in a lot more of a precarious position, not least with the prospect of Putin still being in power?
Nigel Farage, how concerned should we be about being stranded then if we've not got the EU with us running to nanny, some would say, and we've got Donald Trump in the White House?
Well, we could have Hillary in the White House. I don't know what the outcome of that is going to be. Look, I don't
would it
think
be Trump or Hillary? Who would you
I would
choose?
never vote for Hillary. I think she's a crook, and,
So you go for Trump?
and I think she'll get found out.
So you go for Trump?
I would certainly not vote for Hillary.
I think I better just say that there's no evidence.
I worked for the company at the time of Watergate, and let me tell you, I saw.
Let's move on. Let's move on. The Express newspapers.
Does that mean you vote for Trump? You vote for Trump?
I might abstain, but I wouldn't vote for Hillary. If you
But it is worth saying.
you would vote for Trump.
It is worth saying the two world figures that are pro-Brexit are Donald Trump and Putin. They're the two guys that are for it.
Putin hasn't said a single word on this.
Well, the guys that are for the European Union include Oswald Mosley, the president of China.
Back to Mr. Farage.
You want to play that ridiculous game?
No, this is important. This is important. Just for a point of clarification, Express newspapers do not necessarily support the comments they're personally held by Nigel Farage as regards Hillary Clinton. We move on to Britain out of Europe and with Trump in the White House. Nigel Farage.
I doesn't think she's a crook. I didn't say she definitely was one.
You don't know how much I'm getting down my ear right now. I can hardly hear.
Okay, in terms of security, military security, the European Union wants its own army. All right, it's very simple. I confronted Nick Clegg with this back in 2014. He said I was a dangerous fantasist, and now we know the day after our referendum, the plans for a European army are going to be unveiled. I am very worried about that. I'm very worried about what I see an expansionist foreign policy that the European Union has. It's been very provocative in one or two parts of the world already, especially in the Ukraine, where it behaved.
Outrageous.
Where it behaved in the most.
You are rewriting history, Nigel.
Well, it happened 3 years ago. It really was
outrageous.
quite disgraceful, and I fear with the European army that we would find ourselves dragged into new conflicts, which frankly were none of our interest. The better model than a European army is a military structure where nation states cooperate together rather than giving up their ability to make decisions. And I do think that NATO has served us very well. And I frankly think it impossible that President Trump would take America out of NATO. I cannot foresee any circumstances. I don't see any circumstances in which he would. I really don't.
Accept his own views.
I really, well, his bark in a campaign, I don't think in office he'll be anything like as extreme as we fear.
Let's get Chukramuni. You're almost jumping out of your seat.
Well, increasingly, Nigel's sounding like a Trump sympathiser and now a Putin apologist. There is absolutely.
Were you happy with the Ukraine? Were you happy that we actually encouraged the overthrow of an elected leader in the Ukraine? There was a coup.
Look,
there was a coup. It was a disgrace.
What happened in Ukraine was President Putin walked in there and took part of that country. And that is completely inexcusable.
That was later.
And trying to blame that on the European Union.
You can't rewrite history, Chuck. Sorry, mate.
Well, I think you're rewriting history.
The Crimea happened afterwards.
You are an apologist for President Putin.
No, I'm not.
But in terms of security and defence, look, if there was
any call his work in Syria brilliant, Nigel. You're not an apologist. You're a fan.
Well, do you know what? Do you know what?
You're a fan of. Was it because he bombed civilians?
The fact that he stopped us going to war, which is what most of our democratic rights, and in terms of business and trade, we'll go on trading.
You are starting to sound, in some way, with the similar policies to Donald Trump. Now, he admires the Brexit result. He said it was fantastic. It was brilliant. Do you admire Donald Trump in this US presidential election?
Well, Donald Trump dares to talk about things that other people want to brush under the carpet. But what Mr. Trump is doing in America is very different to what I'm trying to do in the United Kingdom. My problem in politics is far greater than Donald Trump's. We literally have lost our sovereignty, lost our borders, lost our ability to regulate.
He would say the same thing about US borders.
Well, the problem that you've got in the US is illegal immigration. Our problem is legal immigration to 500 million people.
So you wouldn't be looking to him for too much support, because on the one hand, he also says if he becomes President of the United States, Barack Obama's going to the back of the trade queue wouldn't happen. You'd be at the front of the queue. So in many ways, you must hope he becomes president.
Well, I think for the United Kingdom, I think Trump would be better for us than Barack Obama's been, of that there's no doubt.
And against Hillary Clinton? Or are you not going to take sides at this early stage?
There's nothing on earth could persuade me ever to vote for Hillary Clinton.
You sure you don't want to think about that for a second?
No, absolutely not.
I mean,
I mean, she represents the political elite. It's almost as if she feels she has a sort of divine right to have that job.
You keep talking about the political elite. You keep talking about the establishment. Sir, you're part of it.
Well,
You've been here for 17 years.
Yeah, but I came into it from business. I used to trade commodities and currencies.
So how on
I had a
earth-
proper job
so
once.
how on earth do you